He ran with the ones. He ran with the bigger, better defense as he finds Denzel Boston here in the corner of the end zone. Now, this was just undoubtedly, from multiple accounts, a great day from Shedeur Sanders. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a very dangerous man.
You see what I'm saying? Dangerous.
Day 11 of Browns training camp, and Shedeur Sanders just did something that's got the whole building talking. Touchdowns, anticipation throws, a media member who's actually been hard on him all camp, calling him decisive. But here's the twist nobody's telling you straight. While Shedeur was cooking, the offensive line was falling apart behind him, and Todd Monken looked like he wanted to throw his headset into the parking lot. So was this really Shedeur's day, or is there a bigger story hiding underneath the highlight reel? Let's break down exactly what happened. Let's start with the obvious. Shedeur Sanders got his lick back today. After a couple days off the ones, he came back with the starters and made it look easy. According to the quarterback tracker, he finished around 70% from the field. Now, I want to be honest with you up front. That tracker doesn't always tell the full story. We'll get into that. But even without the number, the tape backs it up. Shedeur was efficient, he was sharp, and when it came to touchdowns, there wasn't even a conversation. He won that category outright. The one that's got people talking is the throw to Denzel Boston in the corner of the end zone. Shedeur rolled left, threw back to his right, and dropped it right where only his guy could get it. That's not a rookie throw. That's a throw with real touch and real timing. And here's the thing. Some people in the comments and around Browns media are already arguing about whether that ball was actually in bounds. I want you to watch it again and decide for yourself. Because depending on who you ask, that's either touchdown number 3 on the day or a touchdown that gets quietly erased from the tracker later tonight. That's part of the frustration with these trackers in the first place. They don't carry context. They just spit out a completion percentage and let people argue about it on Twitter. So instead of just handing you a number, I want to actually show you what Shedeur did today, throw by throw, and let you see the decision-making for yourself. Because the real story with Shedeur right now isn't just that he's completing passes. It's how fast he's getting the ball out and how clearly he's reading the defense before the snap even happens. That part doesn't show up on a stat sheet. And when you put that next to what a normally critical voice in Browns media said about him today, the picture gets a lot more interesting. This wasn't a case of Shedeur's own fans hyping him up. This was somebody who's questioned him all camp, suddenly changing his tune.
Day number 11 of Browns training camp, and it looks like Shedeur Sanders done got his lick back. I mean, as you see, making it look easy. Says, anything you can do, Deshaun, I can do better. Deshaun got 2 back-to-back days with the ones, right? Shedeur, as soon as he gets with the ones, starts making big-time plays, rolling to his left, throwing to his right. Come on, y'all know he could do that since the Colorado days, so they ain't nothing new. Shout out LeJontay Wester, right? But no, in all seriousness, you've seen the quarterback tracker. 70% from the field. You dig what I'm saying? But no, it seems like both Deshaun and Shedeur had a pretty efficient and effective day. Shedeur wins the day, has to win the day when we talk about touchdowns. He ran with the ones. He ran with the bigger, better defense as he finds Denzel Boston here in the corner of the end zone.
Now, here's what I want you to actually pay attention to. Not the touchdown, the process behind it. There's a throw to Isaiah Bond today that tells you everything about where Shedeur's head is at right now. This is the anticipation throw. The one that separates guys who can read a defense from guys who are just reacting to it. Watch the tape and you'll see Shedeur winding up and releasing the ball before Isaiah Bond has even come out of his break. That's not luck. That's trust in the route, trust in the timing, and trust in his own eyes. If you're somebody who's been on the fence about whether Shedeur can process fast enough at this level, that's the throw that should end the conversation. And it's not just fans saying this. This is coming from a reporter who covers the team every single day. Somebody who has criticized Shedeur before, and not unfairly. This same voice pointed out earlier in camp that Shedeur was holding on to the ball too long. Today, that same person said Shedeur is processing the offense extremely well, that he changed a play at the line into a real route to Gage and dropped the throw in perfectly. When the people who've been hardest on you start changing their tune in the same week, that's usually a sign something real is happening, not just a good highlight here and there. There's another one worth mentioning too. A throw to Cedric Tillman where Shedeur identified pressure before the snap, adjusted his protection call, and let the play develop instead of forcing something into a bad matchup. Little things like that don't trend on social media. They don't show up as a stat. But they're exactly what NFL coaching staffs are grading behind closed doors. Anticipation, recognition, trust in the system. That's the stuff that actually decides who wins a quarterback job, not just who racks up the most yards on a Tuesday in August. But before you get too far into the highlight reel, I need to tell you what happened at the end of that same practice, because it's not what most Browns media wants to talk about.
They're probably my favorite. This one right here to Isaiah Bond. When we talk about throwing with anticipation, throwing with timing, right? We talk about the things that, some people might, try to get on Shedeur. Maybe can he not do it? Every single day he's doing that, right? I want it to be known that he's winding up and throwing this pass, right? Let's take a peek. He wants to throw this right now. Do you see that? Do you see that Shedeur Sanders is already throwing the ball before Isaiah Bond is out of his break?
Here's the part of the story that's getting buried under all the highlight talk. So let's talk about the coaches being fed up, because that headline is real. It's just not aimed at who you might think. Practice ended today on a rough note. Shedeur's 2-minute drill with the ones ran into 3 straight pre-snap penalties on the offensive line, capped off by a false start from Spencer Fondu, a guy who was just starting to get real run with the starters. Then Deshaun Watson came in with the 2s, and it happened again. 2 more pre-snap penalties, another false start to close it out. That's when Todd Monken had seen enough. He ended practice right there, and by the sound of it, he was not happy walking off that field. Now here's why this matters. If you only follow certain Browns media accounts, you'd think this was a Shedeur problem. You'd think the offense is struggling because of him. But that's not what actually happened. These penalties hit both units. They hit the ones with Shedeur, and they hit the 2s with Deshaun Watson. 2 different quarterbacks, 2 different lines, the exact same issue. And yet somehow it's only getting framed as a story about one of them. That's not an accident. That's a narrative. And I think it's worth calling out directly. Think about it logically. You've got a rookie left tackle going up against Jared Verse every single day in practice. You've got 2 quarterbacks who are still learning a completely new system under a completely new offensive coordinator. Of course there are going to be false starts. Of course there are going to be communication issues early in camp. That's not a red flag. That's just what training camp looks like in week 2. The real story here isn't that Shedeur has a pre-snap problem. It's that an entire offensive line, both units, is still figuring out timing under a brand new system, and Monken is holding everybody to a high standard, not just one guy. That's the difference between reading a headline and actually watching the tape.
In the Browns practice, 1 minute end of half situation, Sanders up first, and the drive ends with 2 false starts on the line. I have, and I'll tell you, with Daniels, because Daniel has intel too. Watson next, and after 2 completions, a sack and an illegal formation and a false start, Monken ended practice, and he looked like he threw something. He not playing, dog. He mad. He's real mad. He had to answer them dumb questions to the media about quarterback reps, right? He had the media spinning narratives about Shedeur getting shipped off because of one thing, right? And now it seems like the offensive linemen are struggling a little bit to stay in place. Now, to give you a little more detail on this, right? Start off with Shedeur's 2-minute drill with Shedeur, number 1 offense versus number 1 defense. Sanders had a short completion to Judy. What followed was 3 straight pre-snap penalties for the offense. The last was a Spencer Fondu false start.
So here's what I need you to actually walk away with today. This is exactly why I don't just hand you a quarterback tracker number and call it a day. 70% completion sounds great in a headline, but it doesn't tell you Shedeur was already throwing before his receiver broke open. It doesn't tell you a critical reporter changed his tone in real time. And it definitely doesn't tell you that the same pre-snap issues that supposedly plagued Shedeur showed up just as much with Deshaun Watson and the 2s, right at the end of the exact same practice. Numbers without context are just noise, and I'm not interested in giving you noise. What I am interested in is the trend. Shedeur has now strung together multiple efficient, decisive days in a row. He's making pre-snap reads that coaches specifically praise. He's got real chemistry building with Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman, on top of the connection everybody already knew about with Denzel Boston. And he's doing all of this while getting real reps with the starting defense, not just running it up against backups. That's a quarterback building a case, day by day, throw by throw, in front of the people who actually make the decision. The pre-snap penalties are a real issue. I'm not going to pretend they're not. But it's an offensive line issue, a rookie tackle issue, a new system issue, and it's showing up across both quarterback rooms, not just one. If Browns media wants to keep framing that as a Shedeur problem specifically, that's on them. I'm going to keep showing you the actual tape and let you make your own call. So, let's recap where things actually stand after day 11. Shedeur Sanders wins the day on touchdowns, no argument there. He's showing anticipation and pre-snap recognition that even his critics in the media are now acknowledging out loud. His connection with Jerry Jeudy is quietly turning into something real, and Denzel Boston is proving out as a legitimate #1 option in that end zone. On the other side, Deshaun Watson also had a solid day of his own. Completion percentage in the high 60s, some real chemistry with Cedric Tillman and Gage on show as well. This is still very much a two-man race, but the story that got buried today, the pre-snap penalties that ended practice, that's not a Shedeur story. That's an entire offensive system still finding its footing. Don't let anybody tell you different without showing you the tape. So here's my question for you. Do you think that touchdown to Denzel Boston should have counted, or was it actually out of bounds? Drop your answer in the comments, and while you're down there, let me know if you're actually buying the quarterback tracker numbers, or if you want more breakdowns like this one where I actually show you the tape. Either way, Shedeur Sanders keeps stacking days like this, and I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. Smash like and subscribe.